The Pioneer Woman Museum is proud to present I See No Boundaries. This is a program dedicated to the enduring spirit of women who saw no boundaries. Sponsored by the Pioneer Woman Museum and the Daughters of the American Revolution. And now your host, Valerie Haynes, with I See No Boundaries.
Hi, I'm Valerie Haynes, and I'd like to welcome you today to She Sees No Boundaries, brought to you by the Pioneer Woman Museum of the Oklahoma Historical Society and the Ponca City chapter of the American Daughters of the American Revolution. She Sees No Boundaries explores the lives of Oklahoma women who've blazed trails and achieved success, refusing to recognize obstacles and difficulties placed in their way. Our guest today is Louis Ambercrombie. She's a familiar name and a familiar face to the readers of the Ponca City News. Louise has been a staff member at the Ponca City News since 1964, and 1968, and she served as their business editor for 15 years. As a feature writer and columnist, she's covered major political events and interviewed presidents and other well-known political figures in her career. She's also active in the community. She's a member of numerous civic organizations and business-related boards, both locally and statewide. Louise is a member of the Legislative Review Committee of the local Chamber of Commerce. She's a member of the Chamber's President Club, Outstanding Citizens Council, Marland Estate Foundation. She is the chair of the Pioneer Technology Center Foundation. She sits on the Pioneer Woman Museum Advisory Board and the University Learning Center Board. She's also served on Senator Nichols' application committee for nominations to the U.S. Air Force Academy, Merchant Marine Academy, Military Academy, and U.S. Naval Academy. Louise has also received a number of awards in her career, including being named as Belle of the Ball at the Marland Renaissance Ball by Governor Nye for her efforts in establishing the Oklahoma Petroleum Hall of Fame. She's been inducted into the Marland Estate Hall of Fame and received the Friend of the RAF Award from the Royal Air Force British Flying School. For 30 years, she's been a member of the Cherokee Strip Golf Classic Council Charity Benefit, serving as president of the Pilot Club, which is now known as Professionals Today, and was twice named their Member of the Year. Under her leadership, the annual Cherokee Strip Chili Cook-Off was formed, and it's raised more than $120,000 through the years for Hospice of Ponca City. She was most recently named Oklahoma Small Business Association 2003 Small Business Journalist of the Year. And as if that wasn't enough, she's also a small business owner here in Ponca City, serving as president of Abercrombie Window Works. She's the wife of Worth Abercrombie and the mother of 2 daughters. Wow, Louise, you are a busy woman.
Well, just put it mildly, I am. You forgot to mention I play a lot of golf, too.
And you find time in there to have fun as well. Thank you so much for being here with us today. I'd like to just kind of start at the beginning and ask you what made you decide that journalism was the career for you?
Actually, journalism came to hunt me. I was a housewife, and I played golf, and I played bridge, and raised my 3 children. But one of my golfing partners was Peggy Keith, and she told me about her job was out picking up city briefs on the street. And I said, gee, that sounds interesting. One day she called me and said, Louise, just how interesting do you think this job sounds? So Peggy kind of hired me. I went to work 1 day a week, 2 days a week, 3 days a week, 4 days, 4.5 because I kept one morning open for bowling. And then I came on and went to work for 5 days a week and still am at that.
What made you, over the years, I'm sure you have some interesting stories that you've covered. Do you have a couple that just stand out for you?
Well, one you might be interested in is I ate an earthworm cookie one time. Doc Shipley over at Lamont had called me and said he had an earthworm operation. This is back in the 80s when it seemed to be a popular thing to grow earthworms for protein. And as I recall, it was a very windy day, and my kids were home sick with intestinal flu. Now, I got out there, and he invited me in to have a cup of coffee and to have some cookies. Well, about halfway through the cookie, I realized that it was an earthworm cookie. Now, the earthworms, they take and dry them in the oven, and they're just like chocolate chips or nuts. But with a family at home with intestinal flu, it took all of my fortitude to go through this interview. And I always say he had a doctor's degree in philosophy, and or psychology rather, and the coffee was so bad I didn't mind the cookie.
Well, in a career that came to find you, as you said, I'm sure that you encountered some obstacles and some roadblocks along the way. Are there any that stand out particularly in your mind?
Well, not really, because you see, my parents taught me that there were no boundaries, that I could do about whatever the fellows did, whether it was sports or else I could compete otherwise. And so I didn't really find any obstacles. And I just kept going, whatever it was. I filled in. I did city briefs, filled in as the religious editor, the obituary editor. And believe me, the obituary editor is a learning process, because you better not get the age wrong or the dates wrong, because then the whole family's upset and they never forget.
I'm sure that's true. We are talking today with Louis Ambercrombie, and we'll be right back after this. The Pioneer Woman Museum is dedicated to Oklahoma's pioneering women, those women who saw no boundaries to what they could accomplish. See the story of aviation pioneer Jerry Cobb, the inaugural gowns of the First Ladies of Oklahoma, saddles, spinning wheels, stoves, organs, quilts, and many other unique items. Exceptional stories are told at the Pioneer Woman Museum, Tuesday through Saturday, 9 to 5, and Sunday, 1 to 5. Pioneer Woman Museum is located at US 77 and Lake Road. Come visit the Pioneer Woman Museum today. Hi, welcome back to She Sees No Boundaries. I'm Valerie Haynes, and we're talking today with Louise Abercrombie. Louise, in your career as a journalist, you've interviewed some extremely well-known political figures over the years. Tell me a little bit about that. I'm sure you have some great stories.
Well, I remember when Gerald Ford came here, and he was the Chamber of Commerce banquet speaker. And Conoco they were kind of taking care of the news conference, and one of the things they said was the senior reporter in the room will have the last question. Well, I knew Tulsa World and the Daily Oklahoman were there, so I called the guy at Conoco and said, I am the senior reporter. So he said, okay. So they gave my name. David Beard was the chairman of the chamber, and so they gave my name to Ford. Well, when it come time to signal for the last question, I guess Ford couldn't remember Abercrombie, so he said, all right, Louise. So I was on first name basis with the President of the United States.
What a great story.
Another one, I covered Ronald Reagan. He was also going to be the banquet speaker here. On some freak television frequency, I happened to catch his speech in Emporia, Kansas, so I knew what he was going to talk about. And so we had this little conference, and I called around, got some questions, and I remember I asked him about the right-of-way for coal slurry pipeline. And, of course, he didn't know the answer, but his aide was back there busily writing it down. And the Chamber of Commerce people loved it. They said, Louise, you stumped him. Well, of course, I don't stump anybody with that question. But they asked me how the interview with Reagan went. And I said, well, we had a lot in common. He had color on his hair, and so did I. He had color on his cheeks, and so did I. So we had a lot in common.
Well, go ahead.
Well, and of course, for as long as I've been in the business, I've covered Governor George Nye numerous times, and it was always fun. And one time when he came, he was running for re-election, and he was at the Renaissance Ball, and they paid about $65 a seat there. And so I persuaded him to come down to the Ponca Theater, because the tickets were like $6.50, and they were doing Oklahoma. Well, only I and the stage manager knew that George was going to come on stage. Well, he came on stage in the middle of Oklahoma and started singing and dancing with the chorus, and the crowd just went wild. And of course, the chorus thought they were really good, and they were, but to have the governor in there singing with them was a lot of fun, and I made that arrangement for him.
You, for what's relatively a small town like Ponca City, a newspaper reporter, you've met some really national figures, like you said, the President of the United States. Is that a common thing for a reporter of a newspaper in a town like Ponca City? And if not, how come you've been so successful in this?
Well, because my boss, Foster Johnson, my immediate boss, has allowed me the latitude to use my own judgment, and if I have any clout, to use it too. So, for instance, I met George Bush Jr., George W., in Oklahoma City, and I was in a news conference with him, and so I got a question off, and I get ready to leave, and I turn around, and he's right in my face, wanting to shake my hand. So that was quite impressive. But I've also interviewed Clinton, Hillary, and Bill were here, and Chelsea was a baby, and attended the Renaissance Ball, and George and I brought them here. So that was kind of interesting, too, to meet them. The other day I asked my grandson, I had a picture of President Clinton, and he had dark hair, and I said, if this guy had gray hair, who would he be? And he said, well, he would be President Clinton. So I have those kind of little memories tucked away.
How wonderful. In your career, dealing with politicians and the other stories that you deal with, do you think that the fact that you're a woman has made this more difficult for you or easier in ways, or is it even a factor?
I don't think it's even a factor. I mean, if you've got the confidence and the knowledge and the talent, there's always some way around the roadblocks, I think.
Wonderful. We are speaking today with Louise Abercrombie, and we'll be right back after this.
The Pioneer Woman Museum is dedicated to Oklahoma's pioneering women, those women who saw no boundaries to what they could accomplish. See the story of aviation pioneer Jerry Cobb, the inaugural gowns of the First Ladies of Oklahoma, saddles, spinning wheels, stoves, organs, quilts, and many other unique items. Exceptional stories are told at the Pioneer Woman Museum, Tuesday through Saturday, 9 to 5, and Sunday, 1 to 5. Pioneer Woman Museum is located at US 77 and Lake Road. Come visit the Pioneer Woman Museum today.
Welcome back to She Sees No Boundaries. My name is Valerie Haynes, and I'm here today with Louise Abercrombie of the Ponca City News. Louise, you've had a long and extremely successful career in journalism, but not only in journalism, in other areas as well, your civic contributions here in Ponca City and across the state. What do you personally feel like that your most significant accomplishments in your career have been?
Well, one of them was conceiving the idea of the Ponca City Summit. I thought that if we could get a bunch of our leaders back and people who had gone on to successful careers for a think tank, they could help us with economic development. And so about 2.5 years ago, we brought back about 50 of these individuals to tell us what their successes were and for them to look at us and tell us what our weaknesses were. And it was very successful. We learned a lot of things. They talked about the revitalization of downtown. We're into that now. They talked about education, and we've beefed up education. And naturally, I didn't do this alone. But it was, that general idea was mine. Then Jerry Evans, the late Jerry Evans, the contractor, found a way to fund it. And I think it was a very enjoyable event, and one that had not been done across the state or anywhere we know of. And other towns have now begun doing this. I don't know, I suppose receiving the Outstanding Citizen Award as the first woman was an accomplishment. It was not something that I thought I was earning or anything at the time. I was just doing my thing, and I appreciate being recognized, and other women certainly have followed in those footsteps. Of course, the Journalism Award it's nice to be recognized by your peers, and I received major support from Ponca City, from the Chamber, from the city, and the congratulations and the candy, the flowers, everything have just been overwhelming. And again, it's not something I did by myself. The Ponca City News was most supportive. My editors, I tell you, I'd be like a swimmer without a life raft if I didn't have these editors who make me look good.
One of the most well-known events that you're associated with is the Cherokee Strip Chili Cook-Off that takes place here in Ponca City every year. And I know that you were one of the driving factors behind the organization of that. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, that started in 1985. We were the pilot club then. We were trying to think of a fundraiser, and Gay Douglas, who now lives in Tonkawa, had a boss who was involved in chili cook-offs. She thought this might be a good idea. Well, we won the International Award from Pilot Club for the best fundraiser idea for that year, 1985. Well, it has expanded now. Several years ago, we added the barbecue, and we have the State Barbecue Championship of Oklahoma here. We have it every year, proclaimed by the governor, and that means that we bring in people from a lot of different states who vie for this title. The chili is still there, but it's the Cherokee Strip Cook-Off, and these people win points towards going to the World Cook-Off. The chili people do, World Cook-Off in Terlingua, Texas. So it's a lot of fun. It takes a whole community to raise a cook-off, I can tell you that. It takes everybody. Our professionals today, we're committed. We take nothing less than your death certificate for you to be there on that day. And then we have a lot of local sponsors, and certainly the city has helped. This year we're moving it to the motocross area because we've outgrown Wentz. So, and we're going to be filmed by PBS for grilling across America. So we think that's quite an accomplishment.
Sounds like, do you still get to be a judge in the tasting contest? Or?
No, I'm far too busy. Far too busy doing publicity or helping with the breakfast or something like that. We do have a lot of local judges, though, so we have a lot of participation. And we don't charge them, but we strongly think they should donate if they get to judge.
We are here today with Louis Ambercrombie, and we'll be right back after this.
The Pioneer Woman Museum is dedicated to Oklahoma's pioneering women, those women who saw no boundaries to what they could accomplish. See the story of aviation pioneer Jerry Cobb, the inaugural gowns of the First Ladies of Oklahoma, saddles, spinning wheels, stoves, organs, quilts, and many other unique items. Exceptional stories are told at the Pioneer Woman Museum, Tuesday through Saturday, 9 to 5, and Sunday, 1 to 5. Pioneer Woman Museum is located at US 77 and Lake Road. Come visit the Pioneer Woman Museum today.
Hi, welcome back to She Sees No Boundaries. I'm Valerie Haynes, and we're talking today with Louise Abercrombie. Louise, we've been talking about the interesting people that you've interviewed during your career and some of the things that the most significant things you've done here in Ponca City, and we could talk with you for hours and hours and still not touch on everything that you've done. But I wanted to ask you, looking back now over such a successful career, and I understand you've been in, it's been coming up on 35 years, is that correct? Right. Looking back, is there anything that you would have done differently had you, looking from your perspective today, or?
Well, of course, I was a little more mature when I started my career than most young people would be today. And I don't know what I would have done differently. Maybe I would have taken typing in high school, or now you would take computer. But I took my typing through adult education at Stillwater while my husband was in school, in technical school, and he later went to work for Conco. But I had a reading program, and I would suggest this to anyone thinking about a career in journalism. Read everything. Don't just get narrow focused. Read everything, and that helps your knowledge so much. And I think that was one of the reasons that although I had no experience, that Gareth Muchmore hired me.
35 years, a long career, but of course you have got many more years yet to go, accomplishments to make. What do you see in your future?
Well, I wish I had that crystal ball. I think I will probably continue to work as long as I'm healthy. I don't know, people often ask me why I don't write a book. Well, probably because I'm not disciplined enough. If I had someone there saying, you have a deadline to do 40 pages or something, I might do it. But when I have leisure, I like leisure. And I try not to think about it while I'm at home, but the antenna's always up. If I'm in the grocery store, somebody's got a story. Of course, one of the things that I love to do is my column, Lookin' with Lou, which is a humorous column. And the reason I started that, I had to take a leave of absence for my daughter in Houston needed some help with her children. And I started writing that column just to keep my name before the public, knowing that I was going to come back. Well, it's actually fun now, and I'll have more comments on that probably than on my business page, but, but it's a lot of fun, and I enjoy it.
Do you have any special words of advice for the young women who are just beginning a career in journalism, or just a career in general?
Well, I think it's important for them to decide what they want to do and set some goals, write them down, and then go after them. In journalism, again, they probably should be well read. They should take a lot of English courses, literature courses. But the main thing is to be well rounded, not to get so narrowly focused that you can't look outside the box, I guess. I don't know, some things that probably, and it depends on what they're driven by. If they're driven by money, journalism probably isn't what they want to do. But if they're just driven by an interest in people and how things work, how government works, then this might be something they want to do for the future.
I think those are wise words for success in any profession. Louise, thank you so much for taking time today to be with us and talk with us for a little while. Thank you for joining us on She Sees No Boundaries. I invite everyone to visit the Pioneer Woman Museum and learn a little bit more about Louise and all the women like her. Again, thank you so much. Join us next time for She Sees No Boundaries.